You know that feeling, right? You put in the hard hours, payday finally hits, and for like a brief, fleeting moment, you feel absolutely invincible. But then, almost like an illusion, it's just gone. Poof. And you're left sitting there staring at your banking app, wondering if you're literally just one missed paycheck away from total disaster. Are we actually building a life of freedom, or are we just running endlessly on this exhausting financial treadmill? Well, today, we're going to look at the exact framework that changes this dynamic forever. We're going to build a sturdy, reliable bridge directly from your salary to lasting wealth. Let's get into it.
Where did the money go at the end of the month? Man, it's a question it spins in all our heads right around the 28th or 29th, isn't it? Your pockets are suddenly empty and you're just staring at your balance in total disbelief. And look, it is so easy to fall for the illusion that just earning more money is going to fix this. We all think if I just earn a little bit more, everything's going to be fine. But honestly, simply earning a higher salary won't magically solve that financial anxiety. Because if you don't actually understand where the money is going right now, earning more just means you're eventually going to lose more.
Okay, let's dive into this. We really need to understand the environment we're operating in right now. We live in what we can call the automatic economy. Think about it. Every single app on your phone, every hyper-targeted ad you scroll past, every perfectly timed flash sale, it's all engineered by some of the smartest minds on the planet with one specific goal: to pull money directly out of your pocket. Modern consumerism is a beautifully designed trap. Your bank account is constantly being drained, totally on autopilot, and often without you even fully realizing it until it's way too late.
To really picture this, I want you to imagine your financial life as a huge water tank. Okay? So, water is pouring in from the top, that heavy flow, that's your income, your hard-earned salary. But down at the bottom of this tank, there are dozens of tiny, insidious little holes. Those holes are your unregulated expenses. You know, the impulsive late-night app purchases, the subscription fees you literally completely forgot about. Now, if you try to solve the problem just by pouring more water in at the top, like by getting a raise or working crazy overtime, the tank's still never going to fill up. The water is just pouring right out of those holes at the bottom. Increasing your income without plugging those expense holes, it's never going to result in lasting wealth.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the fundamental mindset shift it requires. Working hard is, frankly, only half the battle. If you're entirely dependent on active income, it means you're trading your precious time and energy for money. You are working for the money. But the real game, the game that actually leads to true freedom, is transitioning over to protective wealth. This is where your money finally starts working for you. It's this monumental shift from just, surviving on a salary to building systemic, lasting wealth that eventually makes your hard work completely optional.
There's actually a massive difference between being rich in salary and rich in wealth, and honestly, we confuse the two all the time. You would be shocked at how many people out there earn incredibly high salaries, they look wealthy, they drive the nicest cars, they live in the best neighborhoods, but behind closed doors, they are completely broke, drowning in debt, and just incredibly stressed out. On the flip side, there are people earning very modest incomes who quietly build immense fortunes over time. Why? Because true wealth isn't about how much you make, not at all. It's entirely about how much you keep and where you strategically allocate it.
So, how do we actually plug those holes in the tank? How do we cross over to real financial freedom? Well, the solution is beautifully simple. It's called the three-bucket system. This right here is the sturdy bridge that connects your current paycheck-to-paycheck reality to your future financial independence. It's a highly effective framework that just completely takes the stress and confusion out of managing your money. How? By automatically dividing it into three specific, non-negotiable categories. Let's break down the very first one, the retirement bucket. This bucket is your absolute foundation. These are funds dedicated strictly to your old age. And listen, the golden rule here is that this money is absolutely untouchable. You do not touch it, period. By placing this money into vehicles like index funds, which, by the way, essentially just let you own a tiny, diversified piece of the entire stock market rather than gambling on single companies, you allow compound interest to safely multiply your money over the decades. Let me show you just how incredibly powerful this first bucket can be. I want you to imagine a seemingly small, everyday habit, saving just 500 rupees a single day. In the grand scheme of things, it feels like a pretty tiny amount, right? I mean, it's the cost of a decent coffee, maybe a quick lunch out, or a short cab ride to Quest Town. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer force of compounding. If you take that daily 500 rupees, put it in that untouchable retirement bucket, and just let it grow at a historical, perfectly reasonable rate of 10% over 30 years, That small daily habit explodes into more than 3 crore rupees. Let that math sink in for a second. Over 30 million rupees. This isn't some magic trick. It is pure, unadulterated mathematics. And that is exactly why the first bucket has to be untouchable. Time is literally the secret ingredient. All right, now we move to the second bucket in our system, the emergency bucket. I want you to think of this bucket as your personal financial helmet. This is the money you set aside specifically for catastrophic, totally unforeseen events, like a sudden job loss or, a major medical crisis. It is your ultimate defense mechanism, designed solely to keep you out of the devastating debt trap when life genuinely blindsides you. And trust me, it will. Think of it this way. A helmet doesn't win the race, but it absolutely saves your head when you fall. Let me be super clear about this. This emergency bucket is not for a new smartphone. It is definitely not for a spontaneous weekend vacation. In a lot of places, just one minor medical emergency can sink an entire family into crippling high-interest debt that literally takes years to recover from. This bucket exists to ensure that when life inevitably knocks you off balance, your head is protected and your financial foundation doesn't just crack right open. Finally, we have the third bucket, the dream bucket. And guys, this is where the fun happens. This bucket is dedicated strictly to your lifestyle goals. You want to buy a house, a shiny new car, maybe an overseas vacation? The money for all of that comes straight from here. What's so brilliant about this bucket is that it entirely removes financial guilt. When you have a dedicated place for your lifestyle desires, you can spend that money joyfully, knowing for an absolute fact that your retirement is compounding away in the background and your emergencies are totally covered. So the crucial point is, how do we actually pull this off in the real world? Well, here is the exact actionable blueprint you've got to execute the very moment your salary hits your bank account. Step 1, pay yourself first. Seriously, before you pay your landlord, before you pay the grocery store, you pay your future self. Step 2, allocate 12 to 15% of your total income right into these buckets. And step 3, which is arguably the most important of all, automate the transfer. Please do not rely on your own willpower at the end of the month, because it will fail you. There's actually a deeply powerful psychology behind automating these transfers directly through your banking app. It basically boils down to this. What you don't see, you don't spend. It's human nature. If that 15% is automatically moved to your buckets the very morning your paycheck arrives, it's out of sight and totally out of mind. You just naturally adjust your lifestyle to live off the remaining 85%, effortlessly protecting yourself from that automatic economy we talked about earlier. Let's move to and see how this builds into our overall philosophy. Ultimately, this entire system shifts how you view money from the ground up. Wealth is like a tree. It doesn't just sprout up overnight. But if you plant the seed today by setting up your buckets and you water it daily through automated consistency, you and your family are going to be the ones sitting in the shade tomorrow. It's a steady, beautiful, and quite frankly, inevitable progression if you just stick to the system. Which brings us to a really powerful daily mantra: asset, not ego. Guys, it is time to stop trying to look wealthy and start actually building wealth. We sacrifice so much of our future security just to show off to people today. It's crazy. I really want you to adopt asset, not ego as your mindset moving forward. Build the assets in your buckets quietly behind the scenes and just let go of that ego-driven spending that keeps the holes in your water tank wide open. Are you building a bridge to freedom, or are you just waiting around for the next paycheck? The choice is entirely yours. And hey, you have the blueprint now. But knowing about the buckets, that's really just step 1. The real question is, what exactly should you be putting inside that untouchable retirement bucket to practically guarantee that compounding growth over the next 30 years? Well, that is a fascinating rabbit hole you'll have to explore next.